Do you get frustrated with your film holder when scanning negatives with your camera setup? Well, stick around because I may have a product which just may be the solution. Hello and welcome to another video. In today's video, I'd like to show you a product which I've received, and that product is a film holder which we can use for digitizing negatives. The film holder is by Valoi. Valoi have kindly sent me this so I can look at it, evaluate it, and then hopefully give you some of my own thoughts onto what I think of the product. The product consists of two film holders, some film masks, a light panel, and the Valoi Advancer system. And it's the Advancer system that allows us to very easily advance between the frames as we're making these digital exposures or digitizing the negatives, whichever way you want to look at it. Let's now go and look at the individual components, and I'll show you what I have received, and I'll talk to you about the components themselves. What we're looking at here is the complete kit. Seeing it in this layout made me realise just how modular this system is and how we can build up over time if we didn't want to invest in the complete kit. We could start out with a 35mm film holder and then maybe progress to a medium format holder. If we don't have a light source, we can buy a holder and a light source. So each component that you see here is available to buy as a separate item from the website. And that's something that appealed to me because we're not going to be stuck with something if we decide to buy this and then decide to buy the medium format. The two work together. And if we just bought the Advancer unit, everything fits together as a modular based system, and that's something that appealed to me. So let's now look at the film holder, and we'll start with the 35mm. It's quite durable, made of plastic. That's the underneath. At each end we have a film gate where the film is pulled through. If we look at the gate, very well constructed, it's very smooth. I can see no sharp or jagged edges which would damage the film, and that also appears on the other side. If we take a piece of film, and I've got a piece of scrap film here, so I'm not too bothered about this one, but please handle your film with more care than I'm doing. The idea is that we can feed the film in across the opening and then out to the other side. So if we're just going to use this as a single unit over your own light source, all that we have to do is pull the film to the next frame, make the exposure and pull it over to the second frame, etc. Very easy to use. Supplied with the film holder are 4 rubber feet which can be stuck on the underside, and by using those feet over your existing light box will prevent it from moving around. So that's a nice feature. That's one of the problems I've always suffered from, the whole thing moving around. Another problem we have with scanning film is keeping the film flat. I don't know if you can hear that, but it's very tight, it's very flat, and I'm not sure how it's keeping that tension. But the closer I look at the film holder, I can see, and I don't know if you can see this, but there's like an S curve here and at this side, and then the same at this side. And I'm wondering if that has anything to do with how it grips the edge of the film, because it is extremely flat. I can't see any bend or any curve in that. That's the 35mm. We now look at the medium format. It's the same principle, made of the same material, and to the build quality is exactly the same. An opening here and here for the film, very smooth, very well made. Now with the medium format, you'll see that we've got quite a large aperture here, and it's currently set to 6:9 film. So if you've got a piece of medium format which has 6:9 negatives on it, you can feed that in, it will occupy a 6:9. If we have medium format with a smaller size negative, what's going to happen is, let's say for example 6:6, it's only going to occupy a small part of this opening. So it's going to leave quite a bit uncovered. And as it stands here, with that bit uncovered, any light from the light box could come back through and it could enter the lens of the camera, or it might creep onto the film and cause issues. So what they've done is they've introduced some light masks, and these are the masks here. With this kit I got three. I got 6x7, 6x4.5 and 6x6. Let's take a look at the 6x6 mask, which is here. Again, it's made of a plastic. Along the top edge we've got these indents or cutouts, side edge and bottom. And what you do is you turn the medium mask over, or the medium film holder over. You take your appropriate mask and you can see that there's already cutouts in the holder, and we just place that into there, turn it over, and now what we've got is we've got the aperture for the appropriate size mask that we've chosen. In this case it's 6x6. The rest of it, which was uncovered, has now been masked away, so that's preventing any light coming back through that hole into the camera lens. And looking at it, it should also prevent any extraneous light creeping onto the film. So if you're going to buy just the film holder for the medium format, it might be a good suggestion to also buy the masks that you require for the format that you're going to be using. As I say, I've got 6x7, 6x4.5 and 6x6. So that's the medium format mask. Let's now look at the duster system. Now the duster system is this item. Again, its construction is metal, and along the top rail we've got a set of, I think they're anti-static bristles, and the same on the bottom rail. So the idea behind the duster system is that we feed our film through like so, and as it's being pulled through, it's removing any surface dust which may be present on the upper or lower part of that film. Now obviously if there's any dust embedded into the emulsion, it's not going to remove that. It's primarily designed to remove surface dust from the film. And again, just like a flat negative, surface dust when we're scanning is a nightmare. We have to do everything we can to try and eliminate that as much as we can. Nice touch that. That's again an accessory. You don't have to have it, but I can certainly see it being an advantage because it adds that extra stage to try and keep that dust level down. The duster unit attaches to the film holder assembly by inserting between these two thumb screws. So place it in there, and then we tighten those up. If we take this piece of scrap film, as we feed the film through, it's actually cleaning or removing the dust as it pulls it through. So that's the duster unit. Again, quite a solid piece of equipment. Let's now look at the actual unit itself. Now this consists of 3 individual items. We have the advancer unit, and then on the side this is attached to the carrier, and inside this carrier is the light panel. So you place a light panel, you slide it in, and then you tighten this thumb screw to keep the light panel in place to stop it moving around. You'll notice that on both sides we've got a set of holes, and that's where we attach the thumb screw, and that's where the cable for the light box comes out. The reason we've got holes on both sides is obviously we can rotate the film holder and have the cable coming out this way if that meets your workflow better. The cable is permanently attached to the light box. It's not a plug system, so it's completely attached permanently. At the end of the cable we've got a standard USB A type connection which requires power. We don't get a power source with this. I'm powering off the computer at the moment, so anything with a USB type adapter will work. Along the length of the cable we have the inline connect or the inline controller, and this is for the light itself. We have an on-off switch, a warm option for slide film, a white option for black and white film, and a cool option which I think is for colour negative. So we've got 3 separate colour temperatures for the light panel. I'll turn it on and you can see how bright it is. So as you can see, it's extremely bright. I don't think you'll see the colour change on the video, but if you do, that's the cool, that's the white, and that's the warm. This light panel is very evenly lit from corner to corner and across both sides, and on the white setting there is no colour cast at all. It's a very well lit, very bright LED light panel, and it appears to have some kind of a diffuser built into it to soften the light as it comes up. So how do we attach the film holder to the advancer unit? Well, all that we have to do is, with the Valoi logo facing away from the rollers, we just slide it in place and it sits like so. You will notice these 2 thumb screws. On the Mark 1 version they were not here, and I understand that people were showing concern that the film holder moved. It had a bit of play in it. I don't really see how that would cause an issue unless people were thinking that it was going to skew it. But what Valoi have done, they've obviously listened to the feedback and they've put these thumb screws on. So these can be tightened down, and they've got quite a lot of thread on these. Not sure why it needs to be that long, but once they're tightened down it prevents that movement. So this is on the version 2. Now obviously having the threaded thumb screws is going to create an extra step for when you want to change out to the medium format. What I've found is the easiest way is not to take the screws all the way out, because they've got quite a lot of threads on these. Just halfway down, you can lift up the film holder, slide it out, then take the opposite one and then slide this rail underneath the thumb screws, drop it in place and then tighten them down. So that's what these two thumb screws are for. So how do we get film to advance through this unit? Well, what we do is we take the film, we pass it through the duster unit if it's in situ, and then we feed it into the gate, and then we advance it manually. We have to advance it manually for the first couple of frames simply because there is not enough coming through for the rollers to grip. So once we've advanced the first frame and the second frame, we actually start to see the film coming through. We can see that we've got a rod on the upper and lower section, and these two rods have got 4 O-rings. There's 2 at the top and then there's 2 at the bottom, and these O-rings grip the outer edge of the film. So when we turn the wheel, it's actually pulling the film through, and that's how we advance between frames. You'll also notice that there are some grooves along these rails, and it's currently set up for 35mm, but if we wanted to do 120, we have to move the O-ring outwards on both rails. So we move it into the next groove along, or this groove, the end groove. Make sure that the O-ring is located into the groove on both the upper and lower section, and then once the film goes through, it actually sits between the O-rings, which allows the system to pull the film through. Now when you are putting this together, we have to attach the knobs, and there's an Allen screw here. Don't over tighten the Allen screw, because what happens is it puts too much tension on the rods, and I had difficulty to start with to pull it through until I simply worked it out that it's all down to how much tension you put on the screw. Once you've got it just right, you'll know it's right, because it's very, very fluid motion, extremely fluid. So that's all we do. We put the film in, turn the light on, we make the exposure, then we pull the film through to the next frame, make the exposure, and we keep doing that until we've reached the end of the film. One thing that I realised with this system is that I have always cut my 35mm into strips of 6, which is fine because it will do a strip of 6. If you have a piece of uncut film, so you've developed the film or you've had it developed and get them to keep it uncut, if you've got a roll of uncut film, to actually feed it through the system and advance it, expose, advance it, expose, would be an extremely fluent way and a very easy way to get through a complete roll, whether that be 120 or 35mm. Certainly something that I'm going to be trying very soon, because I think that's going to make that part of the workflow a lot more efficient. So that's how we advance the film, and then once the film's come to the end, we can obviously remove that. If you do have the duster unit on, like so, we just put the film through the duster unit into the gate, and as it comes out the gate, as we're pulling the film through, it's obviously removing that dust on the upper and lower part of the film. So that's the unit itself. The final part that came with it was the Valoi mirror. It's a mirror, quite a thick mirror. Not much I can say about a mirror, but the idea behind this is to be used as a viewing aid for levelling up. So you'd put this on the film holder, and then with the camera above it looking down, it's going to reflect the lens of the camera back into your live view. So the idea is to make sure that the centre of the aperture of the lens is being reflected back up into the camera, and it's in the centre. Most live views allow you to have like a crosshair right in the centre. So turn on the crosshair, you place the mirror on top of the unit, let it reflect back the lens, and you make sure that everything is centralised. If it's out, we can either make the adjustment at the camera end, but if it's on a copy stand, that might not be too easy to do. So the easiest way would just be to tilt the unit, and you'll see that the rubber feet at the bottom have got some very long threads on them. So we can unthread these, and we can adjust it on the feet on all four sides. So what we're aiming to do is adjust it in that direction and also in that direction. So we've got movement, so we can adjust it just so that that crosshair is as close to the centre as the aperture as we can get it. And then we know we've got a perfectly aligned system. The complete kit can be bought individually. From what I can see, it looks extremely nice. So I hope you've got a better idea of what arrived and what each component of the kit is used for, and how it looks a little bit closer up. What we've just seen is the overall of all the components that I've received from the Valoi 360 scanning kit. The actual kit, from what I can see, it's very well made. There's been a lot of thought put into this kit, and some of the finer details, things like there are no sharp edges or burrs which are going to affect the film in any way. I really like the advancer system, the way that we can move that film across. It's all down to this unit itself. It's very easily to be able to just move the wheels and then advance between each frame. To me, in my own personal workflow, this is probably what I call the game changer when it comes to an efficient system that's going to allow me to digitize my negatives. Very well made product, a lot of thought gone into this. The only issue I had was sometimes if the film had a curl on it, which some films can, when we was actually putting it into the roller system, I had to tease it in manually with my finger just to get it aligned up. But once it was gripping the edges of the film, then it was no issue at all to advance between the frames. Very nicely put together. I really do like the system. Remember that we can just purchase the film holders and the light box, etc. as individual components. I hope you've liked this video. It's slightly different to what I normally do because I'm normally talking about software. But if you have liked it, please leave a comment below, because I'm thinking of doing a follow-up to this where I set the Valoi system up with my homemade copy stand. I'll scan a few frames and then I'll bring them onto the computer and I'll show you my way that I take them from the negative into a positive, which we can then get ready for either displaying on the web or for those that like to print their work we can put it through a digital inkjet print workflow. If that's something that you'd like to see, please drop me a line in the comments below. So until next time, thank you for watching. Bye for now.